Hey everyone, it's Mason Hutchison, and you're listening to Herb Rally, your daily herbal podcast. We come out with new episodes about 5 days a week, so be sure to tune in often. Our goal for the show is to help you along your herbalist journey, no matter what stage you're at. We have over 698 episodes, so feel free to peruse those episodes, and you're bound to find something of interest. Before we get to the show, I want to tell you about the upcoming Now and Then Herb School Community Herbalist program. So this is a certification path for the aspiring community herbalist. It's an experiential program tailored towards the unique community the herbalist is serving, so foundational experience in herbalism is required. So some of what the community herbalist covers is the art and practice of community herbalism, body systems, herbal formulation, energetic foundations, acute, continued, and preventative care, emotional medicine, do no harm care, materia medica plus apothecary creation, and advanced medicine making. So the Community Herbalist program, brought to you by the Now and Then Herb School, starts on September 21st, 2023. So that's about a week away, depending on when you're listening to this. This certification path includes 100 hours of instruction, including live class time, optional evening office hours, and recorded materia medica. So to learn more, you could go to nowandthenherbschool.com. I will, of course, leave a link specifically to this Community Herbalist program in the podcast show notes as well, right there at the tippy top, just to make it easy for you. And just to give you a little bit of background, the Now and Then Herb School is hosted by Samantha Ray Roberts and Renee Camila. So Sam and Renee say, take root in the traditions of your ancestors. Learn herbal medicine basics to care for yourself and for your family. Align with the medicine of the seasons. Learn the language of plants and gauge the practical plant magic in the rituals of every day. So one more time, to learn more about the Now and Then Herb School Community Herbalist program, just go to nowandthenherbschool.com or click on the link in the podcast show notes. Also, before we get into the show, I want to tell you about an upcoming program brought to you by Sage Mountain Botanical Sanctuary. And this one's called Creating an Herbal Toolkit for End-of-Life Care. You'll join herbalist Emily Ruff and guest instructors for a 6-part series to cultivate a deeper awareness and understanding of holistic tools to support you as a caregiver, a family member, or a patient nearing end of life. Death doulas, hospice volunteers, and caregivers can benefit from the value of using herbs for end-of-life care for both the patient and their family members, as well as to support themselves as they work in these sacred spaces. So this course is for death doulas, family caretakers, hospice workers and volunteers, nurses, herbalists, or anyone seeking more tools to support caregiving at end of life. What you'll learn is the benefits of a dozen key herbs and foods for emotional support and nourishment, including nourishing tonics, aromatics, nervines, and adaptogens. You'll learn how to create an herbal care kit as part of your end-of-life toolkit. You'll learn how to create herbal recipes and protocols to offer families of loved ones, including teas, baths, and food preparations, and a whole lot more. So to learn more about the Creating an Herbal Toolkit for End-of-Life Care, you could go to sagemountain.com/end-of-life. And of course, I'll leave a link to that in the show notes as well. So today's episode of the podcast is another Herbalist Hour edition, and I'm super excited to have back on the show Karina DesRoses and Asia Dorsey, and they're the hosts of the Petty Herbalist podcast, and had it back on for round 2. And this time we talk a lot about Asia's upcoming course called Soul Food Genius, which she's co-hosting with her pal Justin Robinson. So we talk a bunch about the upcoming course, which I'm really excited for. I actually can't wait to register for this course. So yeah, we talk about the course, but we also talk about some of what's in the course, including red drink. We have a conversation about pot liquor. We talk about Karina's trip to Brazil. We all give our bougie auntie or uncle advice. And of course, we open the show talking about what's in our medicine bag, because that's what you do when you hang out with a petty herbalist. So just had a great time chatting with Karina and Asia. I hope to have them on the show again. We always have so much fun. And yeah, I really hope you enjoy the show. Big shout out and thank you to Oshala Farm for being our presenting sponsor. If you're looking for organic farm fresh herbs, look no further than Oshala Farm. You can learn more about them or purchase their herbs at oshalafarm.com. So thanks so much to Oshala Farm for supporting the show, and a huge shout out and thanks to all of our Herb Rally Schoolhouse members. That's going to do it for my rambling today. I hope you enjoy the show with Karina and Asia, and I will talk to you very, very soon. Bye.
Welcome to the Herbalist Hour. This is where community gather, merging the power of people and flowers, the sweet and the bitter to the salty, the sour. Umami, it's time for the Herbalist Hour.
Welcome back to the Herbalist Hour. Today I'm excited to have on two-time guests, the folks from Petty Herbalist podcast. That's Karina DesRoses and Asia Dorsey. Welcome to the show.
What up, y'all?
Thanks, Mason. Hello.
Good to see y'all again.
Yeah, thanks for coming back on. And I'm really excited to talk a bit about Asia's upcoming course called Soul Food Genius, but we'll get into that later. First, we got to start with tradition around here. Actually, it's a Petty Herbalist tradition, and we're going to talk about what's in our medicine bag. So, Karina, what's in your medicine bag today?
Ooh, yeah, that's a good question. Asia and I kind of talked about it, like just personally, and then kind of on the podcast this past week. But I've been feeling like I really need other people. I need humans. I think that, this past year is my first time ever living alone, and I've been so busy doing, all the things that I do. And I've been feeling kind of isolated. And so, being honest with myself first, and then being able to be honest with my community about where I'm at and what my needs are has been crazy, amazing medicine this past week. Having those really difficult conversations with my friends. Difficult for me. For them, they're like, oh, okay, you need to talk? Sure. You need to cry? Okay. But for me, I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm just out here crying. But yeah, it's just a blessing to be able to press in and really let folks know where I'm at. So that's been very powerful medicine for me this week.
Love that.
Where are you calling in from, Karina?
Oh, sorry. Wow. Hey, y'all. I always do this to Asia too, so I'm glad that you reminded me. But yeah, I just want to let y'all know my name is Karina. Shout out. I live on the land of the Tongva people, which is Los Angeles, California. And yeah, I just love to be here at the house, just minding my business.
Thank you. How about you, Asia?
Hey, y'all. I'm calling in from the Cheyenne, Ute, and Arapaho territories, also known as Aurora, Colorado. And what's in my medicine bag is sweet, sweet peaches, baby.
Ooh.
I am really wrestling with sweet. I'm really wrestling with my relationship to sweetness. And just enjoying. I'm in Colorado. The Palisade peaches are popping, especially my favorite orchard. Shout out to Morton Family Orchards. Finally, I'm able to get the peaches in bulk. And so I'm just making all the peach things. I'm making my 5-spice peach cobbler. So, and I'm exploring the tradition of peach work, like from China, because that's where peaches are from. And so I'm deep in, the journey of how peaches got to this country, and the medicine of peaches, the medicine of peach pits. So it's just a peach portal for me. I'm feeling peachy keen.
Yes, I love to hear that.
So yeah, I have sweet peaches in my medicine bag. And there's a little question. What's the 5 spices? Those 5 spices are clove, cinnamon, star anise, fennel, and Szechuan peppercorns, which is a rare ingredient that I procured fair trade. So Szechuan peppercorns are different than traditional peppercorns, but I really wanted I wanted what I wanted. I wanted the thing.
That's right.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I read your Instagram post about your relationship to sweetness, and I got to say I kind of have a similar thing going. I always identify as like a non-sweet tooth person, almost like as a sense of pride, but I really like that you're like, no, we got to include the sweetness, and there's lots of benefits to it, not just it tastes amazing, but there's other things going on as well.
Yeah. So I've in five flavor theory from Chinese medicine, each flavor speaks to a specific organ. And so I've been really thinking about how we craft our medicine to speak directly to where we want it to go in a more sophisticated way, right? So if we are trying to support our liver, right, making sure that there's something sour in our remedy so that it goes there, right, to do its work. And that level of sophistication is, it's not necessary for everyday herbalists. Dandelion is still going to do what dandelion does.
That's right.
But as we grow in our practice, these deeper alchemical lessons that we can learn from the ancestors are really supportive.
Thank you for that.
Awesome.
Yeah. What's
Well,
in?
I was gonna say, Mason, what about you? What's in your medicine bag today?
Thank you. So first of all, I'm new to the area, so this is Appleton, Wisconsin. I'm learning it's the territory of the Menominee people, and I want to say the Oneida people as well. So still learning about that. I was previously from Eugene, Oregon, which is Kalapuya Chinook. But yeah, really loving it around here in Appleton, Wisconsin. Not sure if y'all knew that I moved or not, but
No.
but yeah, loving it here. And what's in my medicine bag? I almost wonder if this is cheating, because I almost want to say my self-care routine in general. So it's a lot of things in my medicine bag, and I'm developing a relationship with how I'm practicing self-care, and it almost seems like antithetical the way I do it. I do it in a very like timed and strict regimen, and I'm hoping that as I do this, as I develop further along, it becomes more habitual, which it has. And I actually have a literal checklist on my phone where like I don't want to go to bed if I don't do everything, check everything off my checklist regarding self-care. And so it has to do with different types of nutrition and movement and sleep and all this other stuff. So just being really intentional about my self-care in general. I was wondering, like, obviously I'm going to talk about this today. What is in my medicine bag? And I'm like, I think it's just my general self-care routine. And I've just been practicing it, has just been just incredible, because I do feel like daily I feel healthier and more vibrant every single day. So I'm just thankful for it. And I love building these habits, and it just, this way of doing it works for me. And it does seem like, yeah, kind of a weird way to do it, but so yeah, that's in my medicine bag. Self-care.
Listen, that doesn't sound weird to me at all. It sounds lovely. It sounds like you're building disciplines, which people say is the highest form of self-love.
Like that.
So I was really vibing with that, because I've been also trying to get in some routines for my night, like my wind down nighttime routine. Totally. Which is so helpful to get to sleep at night. So yeah, I was really vibing with that. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. Well, Karina, I know that you just went to Brazil, and I was just wondering if you could kind of tell the audience if what that experience was like, or if you had any takeaways or lessons you learned.
Wow. Well, y'all, I did go to Brazil, but I've been wanting to go to Brazil like pretty much my whole life. We talked about it on the podcast a little bit 2 episodes ago. So if you want a little more detail, but basically, I went with an Afro-Brazilian dance company called Vive Brazil, and they have a trip every year to go visit Salvador de Bahia. And apparently they've been doing this trip for over 20 years. So yeah, they have it down pat. Like they know exactly what they're going to do, who they're going to see, where we're gonna stay. It's incredible. Um, but yeah, so I actually got to go after wanting to go since 2017. I met this lovely lady named Natalie Marrero. Shout out to her. When I was an Uber driver back in the day. And I happened to be listening to this artist named Sango, who does a lot of like Brazilian music. And so she was like, "Oh my gosh, do you speak Portuguese?" And I was like, "No, but I've always wanted to visit Brazil and I just love the culture." And so she's like, "Well, I happen to work for Vive Brazil and we have classes for the community." And so I'm like, "Well, I want to go to the classes and they have this trip to Brazil, so I want to go." So it took until this year for everything to fall into place so that I could go on the trip. So yeah, I finally made it and it was everything and more. I enjoyed so much. I enjoyed the climate, I enjoyed the people, um, learning so much more about the culture, or the various cultures, learning more about candomblé, which is a religion based in Brazil, but that derives from multiple different African spirituality, but mainly out of the Yoruba tradition. And learning about like why we have the songs, the dances, the drums in Afro-Brazilian dance, that it actually comes from candomblé. And so, yeah, it was incredible. We got to visit some terreiros, which are like the I would say like a community compound where they have the ceremonies for candomblé. And we also got to visit some Catholic churches. We got to go on some weekend trips to like the beach. We got to go to amazing restaurants. But we spent a lot of time with each other and yeah, whoa, wait. We forgot the main part of it was dancing. The trip is called Dancing at the Source. And so we danced about 3 hours a day with some of the best teachers in Brazil. And so that was really intense, but also really incredible. And so, yeah, I truly lived my best life. And yeah, I am not the same person who I was before. Because yeah, I've just expanded, especially like my spirituality so much more after that trip. So yeah, that's a little nutshell of my trip.
I love it. Would you say dance is medicine for you?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So this is gonna sound funny, but before I started taking Afro-Brazilian dance, I was obsessed with Zumba. And it's just laughing because she already knows. But there was something when I was in Zumba classes, I just felt like some connection to my ancestors. I didn't know that was the connection at the time, like that it was to my ancestors, but I just felt different when I was dancing and doing these particular dances. But yeah, when I found out about Afro-Brazilian dance, I like started feeling the things a little bit more. And so learning about it, the dance's connections to African spirituality, it just made so much more sense. And so for me, I would say the medicine of dance is not only the ancestral connection, but just like the body movement, like learning how your body works kind of thing and how it feels when you do certain things, and what you can represent using your body, such as like, oh, we're in the forest right now, we're hunting, right now we're in the water, right now we're the storm. So that kind of thing is really fun. It is a connection to nature. So there are so many ways that dance can be medicine for me. So thank you for asking that.
Yeah, of course. And if you're only listening to the audio version, Karina's doing some dances as she's going along here, so you're missing out. Check it out
Yeah,
on
yo,
YouTube. And
please do.
yeah, and as Asia said, or as Karina said, 2 episodes back on the Petty Herbalist podcast, You could listen to a full interview where Asia interviews Karina about the entire experience. So if you want to check that out, subscribe to the Petty Herbalist podcast on your podcast player of choice. Right on. Well, did you have any comments on that, Asia, or should we move forward with the soul food stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just really happy that Karina got to see Doña Susana.
That's right.
Our dream. And yeah, I'm just happy that you got to diversify and experience more of the diaspora and bring that knowledge home so that we can continue to integrate.
Yes.
So shout out to you for making such a powerful trip.
Thank you.
Yeah. Shout out for just taking the leap, and a little foreshadowing. It's going to be kind of similar for my bougie auntie advice later on. So just a quick break from the show to thank our presenting sponsor, Oshala Farm. Oshala Farm is a beautiful and vibrant certified organic herb farm based in Southern Oregon, where they grow and sell over 80 different plant species. The founders, Elise and Jeff Higley, have been longtime friends, so I highly trust their growing methods and ethics. You'll love the potency and vibrancy of all the herbs they have to offer. To learn more and purchase their herbs and other organic goods, head to oshalafarm.com. So thanks once again to Oshala Farm for sponsoring the Herbalist Hour. Now back to the show. Enjoy. Right on. Well, let's hear about this Soul Food Genius course you got coming up, Asia. You want to tell the audience about it?
Absolutely. So the way that I work is through partnership only. Okay. I said, I want my career. I only want to work with my best friends. So every place that I work and all that I do, it's always with one of my best friends. And this course is co-created with our bougie uncle, Justin Robinson.
Shout out to him.
Shout out to him at Country Gentleman Cooks on IG. And we met through a soul food course. I saw that he was teaching a soul food course, and I was like, can't nobody tell me I know all the things. And I was like, but let me just see, right? Let me just see. And I ended up taking his course, and I was like, there's more to learn. Like, there's so much more. And I never met someone who was as talented as I was, or who knew as much as I did about the topic. And so I sent him a message like, the class was great, but you could use, some Black feminine energy. He was like, oh, like yours? And I was like, yeah, like mine. So for the past 2 years, every Thursday, Justin and I have a 1 to 3 hour Thursday's my day off. So yeah, and it's just been beautiful building with him week by week about all the things, all the topics, all the conversations. But really during this time, we built a new story of soul food that neither of us have encountered before, that neither of us would have gotten to without the other. And so I bring a lot of food as medicine knowledge as an herbalist. I can look at the plant constituents and the food groups and how they're organized and how they're extracted to really understand the medicinal qualities of soul food. And Justin is an ethnobotanist. He's a scientist. And so his command of history and place and people, and he's also a chef. So he whips it. I cook well, okay, but all my food is very medicinal. I'm heavy-handed. Karina can tell you.
Yes. Correct.
I put all the garlic. Okay. I said we want all the organic sulfur compounds. Okay. So I cook medicinally, but Justin has a command of all the ways. And so together we have created this course called Soul Food Genius, because it's genius, and the genius that we find in soul food. Like, if you can take the most malign culture and find the genius in it, then it gives you the vision to see all indigenous people and all indigenous cultures on their own terms for the values that they bring. And so the course is restorative. It restores the place that our enslaved ancestors have in our hearts and in our minds.
Yeah.
It highly humanizes what it was to build a cuisine under some of the harshest contexts that we know of.
Yeah.
But it also speaks of the movement and the way that cuisine has always been meant to change and to become something else. And the question that we ask is, what does Black culture and culinary sovereignty look like in 2023?
Mm-hmm.
Where do we go from here?
Mm.
And the ethic, right, of Ubuntu, right? The ethic of, going back to get the information so that as we move forward, it's not moving forward out of shame, right? It's moving forward with big love and big knowledge and a big understanding of what our ancestors were up to. And our soul food ancestors aren't just African. So we're shouting out our German ancestors, our First Nations ancestors. So many powerful traditions have contributed to soul food. And so all of the ancestors are receiving kind of the praise.
Lovely. Yeah. I as I was perusing your beautiful website, you got to go check this out, listener. It's I want to say it's bonesbugsandbotany.com. And then right at the top of the page, you can click on this Soul Food Genius landing page. It's absolutely gorgeous. I actually showed Amanda before the call, and she's totally obsessed. She loves the layout and the colors and everything. And besides that, I was looking through some of the modules, and I saw cornbread was on there. Yep. And you said that I want to say on there it said something to do with some sort of Scottish recipe, and so you're infusing all these different cultures into this Soul Food Genius. But I just can't speak highly enough of the content within it. So I told you ahead of time pre-call I was going to ask this question: is this available for non-Black people?
Yeah. Oh, I love this question. So our focus is on Black culinary sovereignty. And so rarely have Black people got to access their innovations first. And it's really an experiment in democracy, right? So we're asking the big questions about soul food, and we want to be able to ask and answer those questions in a safe place where it's not performing for someone else. And so the live course is going to be for Black participants only. And folks of the diaspora. I will say that there are people in India who identify as Black, and I have met them and I love it. So shout out to all the Blacks all over the universe. But we also have a really powerful self-paced course that we have created so that anyone who's entering into the Soul Food portal can also do interrogation to find the genius of their own cultural cuisine. So soul food becomes a lens through which we can understand many, many food cultures, especially Western European food cultures, which have a lot to say. I was cooking last night and the European ancestors were coming through, really hoping that they too can be understood with a lens of love and understanding of why the meat and why is it prepared this way? Why is the greens cooked so long? It's the European ancestors are actually very much aligned with the African ones. And so the self-paced course is for all people of whatever origin, but you're still going to be asked to touch into your roots. And so not all people are interested or ready in that work, but we believe that honoring all of our ancestors can help us to create the beloved community in the future.
I love that. I think it's very appropriate that you have a contained unit of your community where you're able to go through the course with through what is it, 6 weeks, correct? And when does the that 6 week course start?
October 3rd.
October 3rd. Okay. Then after that, after the 6 weeks, that's when the self-paced opens up to everybody. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's right. That's right.
Awesome.
'Cause
Well,
the ideas need
count
to
me
be
in.
contested.
Yeah.
We have to debate these things. We're not right. We're not
Right.
right about it. So we want to
Yeah.
really debate these concepts, test them,
Yeah. Yeah.
and move forward from a place of like, yeah, we consent to these ideas being shared kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Karina, what are you most excited for Soul Food Genius?
I mean, first of all, I was excited about Asia and Justin putting this course together in the first place because, I've been around throughout the entire process. But right now, my work is in the marketing department. And so I'm just telling anybody and everybody about the course and how they can be a part of it. So yeah, it's been a good work. It's been kind of a lot more than I thought, but it's amazing because when people, first of all, when they see the website, they are so excited. So shout out to not only Asia, but shout out to our friend Ife, who created the website. She does amazing work. So, you know, you can work with her. She works for B Collective. So I used to work for B Collective. So, but yeah, I'm excited about the work that I get to do about sharing. I'm excited about we're going to do some fun little interviews with the Petty Herbalist podcast
Nice.
within the sometimes I say seafood genius, soul food genius course. When I was making it real, I kept saying
That's funny.
seafood genius. But yeah, I'm excited about what we get to do with the podcast and the Soul Food Genius course and many other things. I'm just here. I told Asia, whatever you need me to do, like I'm going to find time to do it. So yeah, I'm excited to learn. I've taken multiple classes from Justin too. So, and I've loved them. Shout out to his Thanksgiving course. I think that was probably the first one I took. And so the way that he describes the way that indigenous food is so intertwined with not only soul food, but just American food in general, was very eye-opening to me. So yeah, I can't wait to get into more of these conversations in the course. And yeah, I'm just excited to spread the word. Currently, I am spreading the word to institutions like universities. And so, yeah, we're really trying to get college students in on this.
Cool.
So, yeah, this is going to be really fun. It's going to be really big. And that's why, yeah, I'm doing the work that I'm doing because I really believe in this. So, yeah.
Nice job. Well, I was glad that to get you two on, before the big launch and everything. So, because I believe in the project big time, and yeah, like I said over and over again, I can't wait to take the self-paced course. But why don't we talk about some of the material? Actually, before we do that, I don't know if this is actually in the course or not, but I wanted to ask you this on our last interview. You mentioned, I want to say like soul food's roots to slavery, and when I think of like nutrition and Black food culture, I think of a pot liquor.
Yes.
Do you talk about pot liquor at all? And if not, can we have a little discussion about it? Can you, Asia, can you teach us about it if you have any insight on that?
Absolutely. So pot liquor. So let's talk about, first of all, how much Americans hate cooking their greens properly. So
come on.
There's this phobia of well-cooked food that results in malnutrition and the elite class. So it's this fascinating thing. So let's talk about pot liquor, but let's also expand the conversation to Western European cuisine, right? Where we have pot herbs. So most indigenous traditional people cooked their greens for a long time, especially Europeans, where most of the brassicas originated from, right? And so we see cabbage soup being cooked for a long time. We see collards being cooked for a long time, kale being cooked for a long time. Why is that? It's because that's what it takes, honey. You have to break down those plant cell walls so that that plant-based food becomes digestible by humans. And not only that, there's this concern that we're losing nutrition. Excuse me. Fat-soluble nutrients, especially vitamin A, are enhanced by cooking, which is why Italian cuisine features tomato sauce, right? All the tomato-based things are often well cooked because that activates the lycopene in the tomatoes and the other vitamin A's. So the other question is, well, what happens to the rest of the vitamins? And we have to remember that energy is neither lost nor destroyed. And so the B vitamins actually move into the liquid, right? So lots of the vitamins that move out of the nutrients, the constituents in the plants, the collards, the kale, moves into that broth. And that's why the most brilliant cultures drink broth, especially if it has a bone in it. But that's another conversation. So after that broth is created, right, and it's simmered down, it's concentrated. So what you have is a medicinal drink, right? And Black folks often would use the cornbread very much like fufu to like soak up the pot liquor, right? Because you don't want to toss that out. But other cultures have also figured out ways to work with that liquid. And so often that pot liquor was just turned into a gravy and put on the rice. And to understand like why gravies are so important to cuisine, it's because our ancestors didn't have a lot of water to work with, right? And so they had to reuse it. But B, eating dried foods are hard to digest. Right. And so putting that gravy on top not only reserves the nutrition that came from cooking the greens, but it also makes the food even more digestible. And so pot liquor is actually a part of an entire process that is present in soul food, but it's also present in European cuisine as well. And it's about understanding where the nutrients are flowing and going, and how I'm a permaculturist, right? So how to make sure that we're not wasting nutrition.
I love that. Yeah, I was just at a restaurant in Seattle called Fats Fried Chicken and Waffles, and I was sure to order the collard greens, and I drank all that pot liquor up afterwards, and it was absolutely delicious. And yeah, you could tell that they cooked it thoroughly. And yeah, I take lessons from that too, and I try to do the same in my household as well. Did you have any input, Karina?
No, I'm just vibing. I mean, I just I love when Asia cooks for me, and it just reminds me of when we were in North Carolina, just on a retreat when Asia was like, you know what, I think I need to write a book kind of thing. And ooh, the food that we made together, but she made some greens. She made some gravy with that pot liquor. So yeah, as she was describing that, I was thinking about that time. So yeah, I'm just here to get the nutrients, you know.
Amen. Karina, do you want to talk to us about what red drink is? Would you be willing to share about that? Or Asia, do you want to pick that up?
I mean, we can both do it. Like,
yeah, why don't we start with you, Karina?
Okay. Yeah. So red drink refers to a hibiscus tea, but like a longer brewed tea kind of thing. It's not no 5-minute tea bag sort of situation. This is hibiscus flowers, but also what's called the calyx. That is boiled down typically with spices. And I don't know if most people are familiar with Jamaica that's often served at Mexican restaurants, but that is one of the red drinks that comes from Africa. And so I know it's called Bissap. I know it's called, is it Sobo? But there are various names for this red drink that comes from Africa that we brought to the US. and what's morphed into like our red drinks. We often, Asia and I often say that hibiscus was the original red Kool-Aid, you know?
A
You
lot
know,
more
you can look,
nutritious.
that's right. You
Well,
can look for markers in a lot of our popular foods
mm,
as to the origins, as to the original origins, such as the things that we enjoyed before we were enslaved, or our ancestors were enslaved here, and all over the world. So yeah. I think that's all. Unless did you want to add to that, Asia?
you did a great job.
Thank you.
I love you very much. And yeah, the only thing that I will add is there's this idea of all of us being here on Turtle Island for a reason.
Mm,
And part of that is that we actually hold pieces of each other's cultures,
mhm,
and we hold those pieces really sacred. And so growing up, I would go to Mexican restaurants and I would always get the red drink.
Mm.
oh,
And I worked and lived in a community called Elyria Swansea, where my students and their families really taught me a lot about the genius of Mexican cuisine.
mm,
Um, and when I started learning about hibiscus, I learned that it was from West Africa and it's called agua de Jamaica. So I would always say Jamaica, por favor,
mhm,
not knowing that I was actually reconnecting with the traditional beverage of West Africa,
Mm.
and that it traveled from West Africa to the Caribbean with Jamaicans,
mhm,
people who would become Jamaicans. And then those Jamaicans took it into Latin America, where Latin Americans and the indigenous people there understood its medicinal qualities and value. So
mhm,
much so that they then brought it to North America to serve it in their restaurants, where a
Wow.
Black person who had been displaced for 400 years would then encounter it again, right?
mhm,
And be reconnected. And so, when we think about the different cultures that exist here, we are all holding medicine for each other. And we don't unlock that medicine if we don't have respect
mm,
for the people and for their travels, their journeys, for immigration. All of these things, the more we love, the more we have access to the wholeness of ourselves and of our story. And so, yes, Karina, I loved your rendering of Micah. And yeah, that just is one of my most sacred stories.
Wow.
wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
following yeah, along your story, that was really incredible. Are you saying that the root word Jamaican comes from like Jamaican or Jamaica?
Yeah. Well, if you look at the spelling of Jamaica, it's spelled Jamaica.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, it's
Oh, wow.
it's
Yeah,
because
because
it's the drink of the
Jamaica,
Jamaicans.
yeah, and the word Jamaica is an a Taino word, and Tainos were the indigenous people in
Yeah.
the Caribbean. So, yeah,
Wow. Incredible.
we're all connected.
I love that. Well, I don't want to go over every single module. I think, dear listener, please do go check out bonesbugsandbotany.com and you can learn more about each individual one. There's one on like black-eyed peas, and I know there's one on cornbread. There's lots of different modules that you could learn about. And again, October 3rd is when it starts for the community-based program. And then 6 weeks after that, it's kind of opened up to the general public. Any closing thoughts on the Soul Food Genius before we move on?
Um, well, we're just excited to all be doing this work. So come kick it with me and Justin and Karina, and be in beloved community with us. We're so excited to offer this new way of being with our root work, our ancestral work, and charting a path forward. So yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. And I would love to have Justin on the show at some point if you think he'd like that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We love our country gentleman, okay? Because he cooks.
That's
Okay.
I
right.
can't.
Where is he based?
Oh, he's based in North Carolina, and that's actually who we went to visit. When I was
What's
writing my book, he's at a land-based, collectively owned organization called Wild Seed. Um, and yeah, I visited him for his wedding,
Oh, awesome.
and
Mhm.
he and his partner made me beautiful Nigerian food every single day for each meal. I was
Lucky.
spoiled.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, shout out to him. And yeah, so you should know all the things about Justin. He's an amazing scientist, and we're so glad to have him in our community.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I read his bio and I was super impressed. Checked out some of his Instagram, and yeah, what a neat guy and a great partner for Soul Food Genius. So, right on. Well, let's transition to a new segment we've been trying out. It's called Explain That Gram, and I stole it
Oh.
directly from Hot Ones, a YouTube show. And basically, I'm gonna pull a picture from each one of your Instagram accounts, and you could kind of tell the
Oh.
greater story. So shout out to Sean
Okay,
Evans.
let's do it.
All right, Karina, I'm gonna do you first and
Okay.
try the share screen thing out here.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I like this one. It's Amanda approved too, so let's try this. Can you see that?
Oh,
Can you tell
okay.
the greater story about this picture?
Yeah. Oh, crying. Okay, so I forgot what year it was, but there is a show on Netflix called Street Food Latin America. And the second episode was on this woman named Dona Susana, who lives in Salvador de Bahia. And she started a restaurant based on necessity, but also because of the help of her community. And so, yeah, she had a humble little restaurant, but she had a lot of people telling others about her restaurant. So different people started going, and foreigners started coming to visit her. And even Anthony Bourdain came to
Oh.
visit her restaurant and had her food. And that, opened so many doors for her. And then, like I said, I think it was a couple years ago, Netflix came and did Street Food Latin America. And so when I watched that episode, I fell in love with Dona Susana. And obviously, remember, I'd been wanting to go to Brazil forever. And so I'm like, oh, like I want to visit her so bad. And then Asia told me she started watching it too. And I was like, oh, and so we just fell in love with her together. And, we're like, when we go to Brazil, we're going to visit her. And so I happened to go to Brazil first, and it was scheduled on the trip as, one of our excursions. And I was so excited. I told everybody about it at the beginning of the trip. So when we finally made it, everyone was like, Karina needs a hug first. She needs to take a photo. So they literally pushed me to the front.
Wow.
And yeah, I spoke to her. I told her she was beautiful. I got to give her a hug. I got a photo, and she gave me an additional hug later on. But her food was so delicious. It was literally some of the best food I had in Brazil. And I had some really good food there. So yeah, that's Dona Susana. And Asia said I kind of look like her. So
I
that made me feel good.
love that. Thank you for sharing. What a
Yeah.
story.
I got you.
Uh, I don't remember if I mentioned this in the last episode, but I got to meet Leah Chase. She was like 97 years old when I met her. She passed a couple years later, but she's run a restaurant called what was it called? Dookie Chase's in New Orleans. She's kind of
Mm.
legendary around there. She served like Martin Luther King Jr. and to
Wow.
Barack
Wow.
Obama, all the people. So throughout the years, but hearing your story reminded me of meeting Leah Chase, and yeah, just what a woman. So
Mm.
I will pull up Asia's picture here. It's kind of another just community one. I really like this one. See that?
Oh.
What's going on here?
Yes. Well, I got to oh. So it's a picture with me, Rosemary Gladstar, and Serafina Capros. And I hope I said her last name correctly. But yeah, we are instructors for Ecoversity. And I got to kick it with Rosemary Gladstar all day. And we talked about all the things. Had some differences about Hypericum, and that's fine. But yeah, Rosemary
That's
is
awesome.
a bad bitch. Like
That's
she
right.
truly, truly a wise woman.
Yeah.
And just her sweetness, just her continence. And the whole sort of Ecoversity team really curating really powerful herbalists and healers in this one container. The students get to really benefit from so much wisdom. And so yeah, this was a really special moment for me. I think of Rosemary Gladstar as Glinda the Good Witch. And it's nice to, be in touch with the luminaries who really made herbal medicine a people's medicine. It's important for us to recognize that herb rally and, the proliferation of herbal knowledge, it was combined with the feminist movement. And it was very intentional work to preserve the herbal knowledge that we had, and then to skyrocket it into the kitchens, back into the backyards. We almost lost our herbal tradition. And people like Rosemary Gladstar, people like Susan Weed, people like Louisa Tisch, and many of the foremothers of women's spirituality, and our forefathers, let's not forget, okay? Our four grandparents, they really preserved it for us so that we could continue to advance the knowledge. Herbal medicine is the medicine of humans, period.
Yep.
Medical stuff is new. Like, that's the new thing. That's a little risky. We're still sorting it out. Thank goodness for great doctors. But the tradition of humanity is herbal medicine. Yeah. And it's so cool to be in touch with the people who made it so. They sacrificed a lot. They sacrificed a lot in order to make herbal medicine an everyday thing again.
Yeah. Rosemary's done some incredible work. And you know what? I chose that picture last night, and now I'm realizing I'm interviewing Rosemary this weekend in person at the Great Lakes Herb Fair. And then I'm interviewing Serafina on Zoom next month. So just kind of random coincidence there. She seems really neat. I haven't met Serafina yet, but she seems really neat.
Oh, she's a lineage herbalist. So you'll learn about her mama, her grandmama. Okay.
Awesome.
Serafina goes hard. So she's amazing. And I'm so happy that your audience is going to get to taste her and Rosemary.
Yeah, I'm stoked. Awesome. Well, we've reached that point in the show. We're going to give some bougie advice here. So who wants to go first? And I can go too if you want. Buy some time.
You know what, Mason?
Yeah.
Why don't you give us your bougie uncle word of advice?
All right.
For this week.
Here we go. Okay. So my bougie uncle advice is, how am I going to put this? So my friends Giuseppe and Allie just got married. I was in their wedding, and go back 6 to 8 months. And when they originally invited me to be in the wedding party, I thought on it for a couple weeks, and then I decided not to go because of the financial situation. I was like too busy. And then I remember, mulling back and forth with it with Amanda. and then just finally telling them, I don't think we could swing it. And then I want to say 15 minutes later, I text them back frantically. It's like, oh shit, can I still be in the wedding? I changed my mind. And basically what happened was I started feeling these regrets right when I told them no, that I would be like, I'd be looking back later on life, regretting not having not gone. And, then, so changing my mind, deciding to go. And then we just went to this beautiful wedding last week on the San Juan Islands in Washington, Friday Harbor. And just being there with such an amazing community of people, such a beautiful wedding. And looking back, I'm like, sure, technically was expensive to go. But once you buy the plane ticket, once you make all the accommodations and situations, that's all taken care of. Life goes on. And here I am at this wedding celebrating with some of my best friends and just getting to meet his family for the first time, seeing the place where he grew up for the first time. And I'm just so thankful I went. Such a good week, such a great experience. And basically, I have like this frugality and this minimal like lifestyle a lot of the time. And sometimes it's just nice to take the plunge, invest in experiences. And I call it regret minimization strategy. And
and
I'm just like, I'm so happy Amanda and I went, and we got to just kick it with some really neat people for a full week, and just had a lovely time. So my bougie uncle advice is just invest in experiences, and it usually all works out anyways. So that's my advice.
I love that so much, because I feel like that's been a lot of my life is take that risk for mainly community building opportunities. I've done a good amount of traveling, and it's mainly been for or with community, and it's only expanded my life. So I would say I feel that I would co-sign on that, especially for community building activities.
Thank you.
In Asia, what is your bougie auntie word of advice for today?
Well, Mason, I'm sitting with frugality. And all the ways that it shows up in my world, especially around how I'm supposed to be. I think of the Protestant worth ethic that I have inherited, right, from the founding fathers, that like the value of what I produce in my life is my work, is my labor. And then I compare that to, indigenous worldviews who also value labor, but the labors are diverse and complex. Karina always asks this question of, why can't being born be enough for me to deserve to have a decent life? Right? Karina always asks, and is I see you, sis, being frustrated by the fact that we're really forced to work to live, because the work we do is often for someone else's higher benefit and not our own. And so I'm sitting with these ideas, Mason and Karina, and I'm sitting with this conversation of sweet, right? I imagine that wedding experience for you was a piece of cake that you had to allow yourself to have, right? That you had to deserve it, right? You had to afford it. Right. And a week away is a lot, okay? With babies and childcare, like, let's not pretend like that's not a big investment, because I feel you. Yeah. And at the same time, with where I am and with what I need towards my liberation, my bougie auntie word of advice is to eat the cake. As I'm sitting and exploring the medicinal values of sweetness, and especially the proliferation of sugar. I had a love who made me collard greens, and I tasted them, and there was a little bit of sweetness. And I was like, is there sugar in this? And their response was like, I wanted to make it sweet for you. And I realized in my world that I have also did a lot of strife, a lot of suffering, a lot of struggle, because I thought that that was the way that we make it in this country, the way that we make do, the way that we build rigor and constraint and control. But the self-denial that comes from those assets, like those processes, that too can be a form of harm. And so for me, in my world, in my time, it's understanding how sugar impacts the body and blood and bones, and understanding like the history of cake making, all this stuff. But really, it's just like, sis, just eat the cake.
Yeah.
So my bougie auntie word of advice is that like life is also for the living, right? And that sweetness, right? That sweetness is everything. And so that's my bougie auntie word of advice is to eat the cake.
I love that so much. Go for it, Karina.
Praise hands. That's what I was just gonna say. That was great. I love that. I love to hear that. And shout out to me and plugging myself also. So what was it, like 2 years ago? I started the Petty Patisserie as a way to get myself back into the kitchen. And just make treats for people. And my like still claim to fame is my lemon bars. My lemon bars are everything. Asia can
They
agree.
really are. They really are. Gluten-free done right.
Yeah, they're gluten-free, like not like out of, me trying to make a replacement, but because it just tastes better with almond flour. But yeah, so I am bringing back the Petty Patisserie this weekend because one of my friends, she wants to do like a home coffee shop kind of thing. So we invite like the homies over, and we're like fully being baristas. We're gonna have all the drinks. And so she was like, yeah, and then you could bring some pastries if you want to. And I was like, all right, it's time. So yeah, we're bringing the Petty Patisserie back. We're bringing sweets back. And so yeah, when you were saying that, just eat the cake, like yeah, we're gonna eat sweets. So yeah, for my bougie auntie word of advice, I was listening to a podcast, one of my favorite, or was it another podcast? But it happened to, there's a podcaster. Her name is Hey Friend Hey. She's amazing. She's on the Friend Zone podcast, but she was on a different podcast this time. And she was talking about how she's known for self-care, circling back to you, Mason. And she was just talking about how growing up, she wasn't really cared for. She had to figure out how to take care of herself. And so as an adult, she makes it priority to be taken care of. And so she's like, I'm often seen as selfish, but I don't see selfish as a bad thing anymore. So many people say that you're being too self-centered or too full of yourself. She's like, what's wrong with being full of yourself? That sounds great. And so I was like, wow, I want to be full of myself. I want to be full in myself, like I want to be so self-expressed, so well understood that I know who Karina is and I know how to present Karina to the world and also to my community. Because when I'm my best self, I'm the best to the community too. So yeah, my bougie auntie word of advice is to be full of yourself. Like, truly, like be you. And I find that you're often more honest with other people about your own needs and how you need others and how they can show up for you when you are full of yourself. So be full of it, okay?
Yeah.
Y'all both brought it, as always. I love it. You always give me a new reframe. I remember last conversation we had, we talked about the benefits or the not so good benefits of being unapologetically yourself. I don't know if y'all remember that conversation or not, but that was so good. And yeah, y'all always give me a new reframe and a new perspective on things. So I really appreciate that. I'm going to eat that damn cake. I'm going to be full of myself.
Period. Be full and full of yourself.
Amen.
Right. And don't forget your carminative at the end. Okay.
That's right.
What it's for. Well, as we wrap up here, this just came to me. I want to be sure to ask this before we get out of here. Asia, did I hear you're actually writing a book?
Yes. So I am writing a book. Absolutely.
This is on record now. You have to do it. So,
I know.
Yeah.
I have so many wonderful people, my Patreons, everyone's really pushing for this manuscript. And I'm working with a publisher that's actually really excited about my work. And so it's still hush hush because it's not going to be here right away.
Gotcha.
But this sort of notion of bringing herbal, I'm a permaculture instructor. Cool. And so very much fascinated in that zone 0, the house, and how we are integrating herbal medicine into every single aspect of our lives. Understanding the herbalism of food is one of the biggest topics. To really undo the segregation that was created between medicine and food. And so the book really focuses on undoing that segregation and fully integrating food and herb. It's herbal medicine. It's the same. And if you get that it's the same, then you become a better cook and you become a better healer. Because it's not separate, and it was separated. And history is history, but we're charting something different now. So reintegrating herbal medicine into the home, into your floor wash, into your, like, how do we live in an herbal reality using plant medicine as life, and not just when you have a cold or an ache or a pain. So yeah, thanks for asking about that. It's been since 2 years when we went to visit
North
Justin. Carolina. Yeah. So it's been a project.
Awesome. Well, feel free to come on the show anytime, and please do come back on the show when the book's launching and whatnot. But yeah, in the meantime, whenever y'all want. Thank you both so much again for coming on the show, and I'm glad we were able to make it work. And I just can't say how excited I am for the Soul Food Genius course. I'm just so stoked for it. And I know everybody's going to be stoked when they see how beautiful the website is, all the curriculum, and learn more about you, Asia, and Justin, and great job marketing, Karina. You got us on the show. So thank you all. I guess before we get out of here, I just got to say, stay ready.
And be petty.
All right. Go subscribe to the Petty Herbalist podcast on your podcast player of choice, and check out Soul Food Genius at bonesbugsandbotany.com. So bye, y'all.
Bye.
And that's going to do it for today's episode. Thanks so much for listening to the Herb Rally podcast. If you'd like to hear more from us here at Herb Rally, we now have a text message community, believe it or not. Basically, it's just updates from us. We send about 1 to 7 texts per week, notifying you about new events, videos, courses, podcasts. You get the idea. It's pretty much like our email newsletter, just in text form. So if you'd like to receive text messages from Herb Rally, just text JOIN, that's JOIN, to the number 541-256-2895. Again, that's JOIN to number 541-256-2895. And to stop receiving texts, that's easy too. Just text STOP to the same number. It'll opt you out immediately. Okay, thanks again for listening. Have a great rest of your day.